I think everybody should fucking homeschool their kids.
I mean, dude.
Some homeschool kids are crazy though, dude. Like, I mean, it's not all.
I'm not saying they're all good. I'm saying it's better than getting touched by a stranger.
Well, that's the thing. That's the kind of the shitty thing with our current like fucking our current school situation is that like half of it is way too overdone, and they're not actually teaching kids anything worthwhile. Like, they're not actually teaching them, like, life skills.
They're preparing them to go work 9 to 5s.
Mm-hmm. I didn't learn shit except for the price of, like, street drugs in school.
I mean, if you need me to get on a soapbox about the school system, because I have, like, kids in it, I'll get on that.
Oh, yeah. What's your thoughts, man?
Like, number one, like, I think they're embarrassing. Like, they should be teaching these kids how to budget and how to, like, balance a checkbook and, like, how to get your credit score up quick. And they're teaching them some algebra and some bullshit like that. It's crap. Like Bob, Bob, namesake of the show, taught me how to balance a checkbook immediately and save money and taught me how to get my credit score real high. Like, those are real things that help me in life.
Yeah.
Fucking calculus, too, didn't do shit for me. Like, it's garbage.
Right.
And they're not teaching me any kind of that bullshit like that. And then, like, my youngest, like, he did bad after COVID. And then he learned, like, so nowadays in school, like, if you fail a class, you spend, like, $100. You can take a credit recovery class, and then you just pass the class in the summer. So, like,
pay to play.
And, like, he's spending his own money, and, like, he's like, I'm just going to fail math. I don't give a shit. And I'm like, well, you figure out how the system works. I can't get too mad at you. You're spending your own money.
Yeah.
But, like, the system's broken. They just want to run them through. And they're not teaching them anything good. It is a bunch of trash. Like, I mean, they should teach a budget class. Like, and I think it's on purpose. Like, the American system wants you to be just poor enough. And it drives me crazy.
Absolutely. I don't think that any part of it hasn't been, like, thought through. You know what I mean? Because if I'm smart enough to see through it, somebody else was smart enough to think it through.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That those kinds of things don't happen on accident, and our system didn't get to where it's at right now by happenstance. It got there through a lot of professional neglect and a lot of people at the tippy top moving things the way that they wanted them to be. You know what I mean? And that's why I think, like, there is a big push for homeschooling. I don't think homeschooling's like the best solution necessarily. There's things in education reform that could take place that would make bigger waves than just a homeschooling movement can. But, I think we're a long ways off from that, unfortunately.
All right, I'm about to do a fucking history dump on you, but the current school system that we have is actually based off of, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, you could look this up if you need, but basically, they adopted it from the Prussian system, and so the Prussian system was a very militaristic fucking country, and it fell to Germany, and we know how Germany went with the fucking almost took over the world 2 times. Yeah. But they were producing phenomenal soldiers. They were producing phenomenal factory workers. So a lot of Western countries kind of followed the Prussian school system, where it's more based on you're just saying and accepting. I don't know, what is it called? Like fucking when you just willingly follow somebody's orders. What is that called? What's another word for that?
I don't know. Like,
Obedience.
Yeah, it's more based about obedience than it is about the knowledge, which is why we have a separation in our own system of college. Because if you wouldn't need college if our system was perfect.
Well, and that's probably a lot of the reason the way that we test and we evaluate the way that we test and evaluate. Because if you look at the way that we do that in this country, it's based on regurgitation of information. Mm-hmm. It has very little to do with actually digesting and thinking critically based on the knowledge that you've obtained. It has a lot more to do with, can you remember what I told you on Tuesday now that it's Friday? Because when you go work your 9 to 5 for the next 45 years, you're going to need to remember things. You're not going to need to think about things really. You're not really going to need to figure things out unless unless you go to our special schools after this school. That's really expensive.
And this is another thing with another history problem that I have, which is they're teaching these kids, like, hey, this is the date that this happened, this is that, this is blah blah, but they never actually teach them the reason why things happen
or give it context. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like a lot of whenever I was in school, why did it take me to get outside of school to finally understand that Napoleonic Wars led up into World War I, World War I led up into, like, that should have been something that was taught throughout school, and they barely teach you anything. They
try to
focus on, like, very specific names. They're like,
that's all the school books are, because they take out all the actual factual stuff and feed you with the same information. Because I'm looking here. It's based off the Prussian model to created in the 1800s to produce mindless, obedient soldiers.
Yep.
That's why the American school system is the way it is. So like they're like, oh yeah, Columbus discovered America. Who the fuck was here first? The Native Americans, like the Pilgrims and the Indians. They're like, oh, thanks for getting us your land, you know. Thanks for the crops and stuff.
And
like
then we were supposed to just, you know, America was supposed to just be a colony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we were supposed to just be another just little remote reach of an empire. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's never really supposed to be this way.
But I mean, some of the stuff like working in a factory isn't bad, but you should teach people how like to save their money. Like we're forcing people, you know, going to the TikTok shop and buying these things. They don't have money to do it. Like they're trained this way. Like you should be trained to like, you know, you budget your money. Like it should be like, and that should be taught to you in school. Like if you want to work 9 to 5, those are fine jobs. I don't care. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But like you shouldn't be broke. Like you should
Right. Yeah.
Like I mean that's the thing. Like and they don't teach you how not to be broke. It's embarrassing. Like. I mean, no one knows him. People leave school, and then they're like, well, go to college and get a liberal arts degree. Hey, I have a public relations degree. Look at me. And you owe a bunch of money on it. Like, you didn't – if you're going to be an engineer, cool, whatever. Like, you need to do that.
Yeah,
but
need
you
to
don't
know
need to
that.
go to college to go to college. Like, you can come ahead with a bunch of money. And the school system – I mean, I don't know how bad it is now. I mean, because it's been centuries since I've been in school. But, like, they teach you to, like, you know, you have to go to college.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't have to go to college. You get to start $100,000 ahead if you don't go to college. Like – It's
In
crazy.
some cases, anyway. You know what I mean? There are some people, obviously, that just that's not even, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, or
ever
I'm
even
say,
an
like
option.
you don't, but you could do something else. You could get a job first. Like you don't have to go to like Ohio State. You can go to like a junior college. But no
Right.
one's teaching anyone that. They're not teaching them how to budget. Not teaching, you know, have 2 bank accounts, one for your bills and one to save money. Like how fucking difficult is that? And 1, 2. One bank account isn't real. That's for your savings that, and one bank account's for bills.
Yeah.
I mean, you could teach a 3rd grader that. But they're like, no, you got to learn how to weave this fucking basket or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Or, you know.
Color inside the lines.
Yeah. So it's
Also,
great.
if you were to try to make like legitimate, like good citizens of your country, I imagine that you would also like a thing that everybody has to go through is a fucking law thing. Think about it. You were never taught your laws on where you grew up, or the country, the state, the
Your
local
town.
you don't know any of those laws. But like, how are you supposed to find that out? And like the fact that you have to go to a college and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just to figure out that, and then you're good enough at that point to be able to just get people off
Yeah.
on other things. I mean, that's pretty much what a lawyer is.
Yeah. Well, and that is kind of how the system is set up, right? Is that like, okay, we're gonna shuffle everybody through the same basic funnel of the public education system, and we're not gonna teach everybody how to be successful. We're not gonna teach everybody how to save money and budget and think critically, and we're not gonna teach everybody how to flow through the world. But the people who can afford the $200,000 education or the even $50,000 education, we'll teach them a little bit more. And if they can afford the really expensive school, well then we'll teach them how to do everything. We'll teach them how to duck the laws. We'll teach them how to evade their taxes. We'll teach them how to really play the game, but only if they can afford to go to the school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is set up that way on purpose. There's a reason. Yeah, you could teach it to a 3rd grader, but they don't want everybody knowing how to play the game.
I mean, they didn't teach me that game at Youngstown State in Westminster, and I paid a bunch of money. Well, BK paid a bunch of money.
Well, yeah, but that's not Harvard and MIT.
No,
you know what I mean?
But like, still, I mean, it's still like Westminster's pretty well known for that. If you want to be a doctor, you want to be like House, you start at Westminster for your, you know, science and 3 years to be a doctor at school. But like, I think it's like even in the higher schools, they're not teaching how to, you know, evade your taxes. They're just different things to have a degree and stuff. Like, oh, I went to Stanford. It's my degree.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're any smarter with like basic human stuff than they are from the public school.
Well, then I suppose that just furthers the point. That's even worse. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much you pay then. You're still never learning the shit that really matters.
If they
you know
were
what
smarter, we wouldn't have 7% of the country not wanting to vote for president.
That's true.
I mean? Yeah.
I mean,
And I think that they actually muddied up the waters with more of these colleges because now they have. I mean, you might have a disagreement with this, and I actually want to hear your opinion on it. I feel like they've muddied up the waters with these arts and crazy like arts and social schools where you're really not learning anything that you couldn't have learned by yourself, and you're paying all this stupid amount of money for it for a useless degree. Yeah. And I feel like that's also muddying up the waters because I feel like a lot of people in our generation, Your generation for sure, John. Definitely like got told, hey, your way out is to go through college. They didn't give them any sort of information other than that. So a bunch of people were just like, I like art, so they went to college for art. And I feel like a lot of that really fucked up a lot of this generation. That's why you're getting what we're getting now, where a lot of people don't understand the way that the country works, history, shit like that.